Hey, it's MK, and I am here with a Baby Got Scraps layout for you guys today. I am also introducing you guys to the stitching templates, and these are the ones for January 2026, which makes this a Stitches and Stencils layout because I also included a stencil, which I thought was pretty fun to have two of these in one day. So I am going to be using these alpha stickers right here. They are thickers, and for a moment I forgot where the thing was, but they're from, I don't know what collection, but they're called Creek. I really love them and was blown out of the water that I had enough alphas to do my title. I'm also going to use this packaging from Honey Bee. They sell stamps and dies if you're curious. And then these are my scraps for a 2-page layout, and these are my pictures that me, Janet, and Lynn all took when we went to Sitka, Alaska. So they're a combination of everybody's photos to get the right angle and less people, actually. That was what I was looking for. I have two types of thread. I just have two bobbins for the same type. Hopefully I can get rid of one of the bobbins. Here are the templates that I will be using in more like real size because I know the photos don't do any justice. So here I have a clock. The other one is more like fireworks or bursts, and they're going to be super fun on our layout. And then the last one is this cute little envelope with a star on the paper inside the envelope. So super fun, and I can't wait to show you guys how I use them. I'm also going to be using pine needles and evergreen bough in the Distress Oxides, and I have my blending brush, and then I'm bringing back this stencil. A, it was already on my desk, and B, it's new to me and I'm loving using it. It's by Ardent Creative, designed by Katie Petite for one of her collections, I think the Laurel Grove collection. And then these were sitting on my desk that also matched, but actually I set them off to the side and completely forgot about them, so they don't get on my layout. I do apologize. I have a scrap piece of paper as well. It's just white cardstock for me to also use my stitching templates. I pulled out a few brads that I thought would match this collection, even though there is absolutely no green whatsoever in the Twilight, Cocoa Vanilla Twilight, or Midnight collection. I'm sorry. The Cathedral is like that's its iconic color, and so I really wanted to bring that green in. So I have lots of other little things. I've got stickers from the advent calendar, these hearts from the advent calendar, and there's a fifth heart, but I lost it. I'll have to go finding it. Not that I'm going to use all 5. And then these little number plates are also from the advent calendar from last year. So just using up my scraps, you guys, whatever was on my desk and in that little tray, I try to go for the tray first before going into my organizer that has the midnight stuff on it. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is make my own paper in the middle of this layout, because I know that the strips of scrap paper that I have are going to go at the top and the bottom, but I didn't have enough photos, or I didn't print them big enough to fill in that gap. And this is absolutely perfect because then I can create my own background paper or my own paper. And so the first thing I'm doing is I'm starting off with this stencil with the pine needles. So that was my darkest green that I had, and I'm just stenciling it. I do not mind at all if there's gaps in the stencil, if it doesn't completely line up or anything else. I just wanted to get that color down, and I'm going to do that twice because I am making a 2-page layout. So I am super excited about getting this layout done for you guys, but because there's a lot involved, it became a super long video. 31 minutes is how long this video is. So I'm going to start off right off the bat by saying thank you so much for hanging in there with me and watching what I come up with all this randomness that was on my desk, and a collection that really has no green in it whatsoever. So I think I do a good job pulling it all together, but we will see in the end, and definitely share your opinions to see if I should have added the green or not. But I love how it turned out. All right, so now I'm going to go to the evergreen bough, which is my lightest green, and I'm just very faintly covering the entire background. Well, in the middle. I'm trying to stick with 6 inches, but I think I go a little over just to be on the safe side. I'm not going really heavy. I don't want it to cover up what I just did. But the cool part about ink applying to ink is that your original ink is only going to get darker. So you're really not going to ever fade that away. And then last but not least, I am going to ink the edges very lightly, just because of the fact that I wanted that green to be all over my page and not just in the center of my page. So I am taking the outside edges and just blending that in very, very faintly. In fact, I think by the end of the layout, you don't even notice it because it is so light and the papers frame in this background paper that I'm making at the moment. Okay, so I am just going to go ahead and finish this up, still deciding whether or not I like it. I know, too late now, right? But it's just paper and I can definitely already, start over because I haven't done a whole lot. I could definitely use this for something else. I'm debating in my brain whether or not I should add watermarks, splash some water on it and let the oxides do its thing. But then I thought, no, because what if it changes the color and brings in a new color that I don't want? So I am omitting the urge to splash water on this and let the oxides do its thing. Okay, so now that I have all that going on, I need to cut out my pictures because I just take the white border. For some reason, my printer prints a little wonky because, it's related to me, right? I'm a little wonky, so my printer shows it. But I just go ahead and trim off the white edges a little bit to make them more uniform. And now I'm going to take my photos and where I think I want them, which is pretty much where I want them. I'm going to outline on the green only. I'm not outlining any of the white. It's just the green section here. And where my photos are going to go, that's where I don't want to waste any of the stitching. Now, I do end up covering up some of the stitching because of the embellishments, but I personally think it's a little too hard to, get accurate on where you want embellishments just yet. And I like the fact that the stitching is interacting with my embellishments. So once I'm done trying to figure out where all of my embellishments are going, and again, I'm sticking with my 6-inch mark. So I'm using my ruler to find that 6 inches and placing my photos just at that 6-inch mark at the bottom of my page. So that way, or I should say in the middle of my page, so that way I can line up my photos straight across that 6-inch mark. Excuse me, 6 inches in the middle of my page. Okay, so here is my first design. I'm going to use the burst and add it to the background, but I have to tell you, this was super hard with all that print. I had no idea how hard it was going to be to visualize my dots on top of a print. Like, oh my stars, my eyes started cross-eyeing and everything. So to make this easier for me, and I didn't do it until about maybe the 3rd stitch, I actually went on the back of my page, took a pencil, and lined up my design. Like, what was my design supposed to look like? So that way I knew that when I brought the needle up and where it was coming down was the correct spot. So that helped immensely trying to have all of those designs. And there is my background. I stitched multiple of all those bursts so I could create a background. So now I'm going to create a clock. Now with this clock, I did not put any numbers. So you can twist it, turn it, flip it, flop it, do whatever you want to get the number close to the numbers that you are looking for. I was going I had it in my brain that I was going to match the clock that was on the picture, but then when I looked at the picture, because Lynn took it at a different time, Janet took it at a different time, and so did I, we have 3 different times. So by the end, I was like, oh, nope, I'm good, whatever. Now, when I did my pokies, I should have poked first and then circled before, because as you poke, the design does move slightly. So I should have definitely waited to do my outline after I was done doing all the pokes, because now my circle's a little wonky, but because I do the distressing, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really show as much. So for my envelope, I'm going to get a little fancy. I'm going to get a lot fancy. I'm actually going to make a pocket for my envelope. So I'm doing the front of the envelope, the little V section, as one design, and then I did the back section with the little flap of the envelope as another design. And then I'm just going to go in and trim out on my pencil marks where I traced out the design of the templates. And that is the whole point of wanting to do these templates, is so that way I can have an element on my page that I can move around and it still has very little stitching on it, and it just gives it that character and that look. And this is something I've been wanting to do for you guys for a while. I just love the idea of having all of these elements and being able to bring them to life or pop them off the page per se, and just do this. I'm so excited, you guys, for the monthly subscription box. Now, I do have to tell you guys very quickly while I am stitching that the monthly box is only open until the 10th of January. Today is the 7th. It is only open until the 10th. Then it will be closed until the 16th of October 2026. So I will not accept any new subscribers after the 10th of January. Just to let you guys know that if you're interested, please sign up because it won't be available until 16th, which is after October's has already shipped, and then you can join the club in October. I will be sharing what the other images are. They just won't be available outside of the club, right? Okay, so I've got my clock all done, and now I am just trying to blend it in and give it some character. I wanted to give it that oxidized character, so I am taking whatever is brown on my brush, whatever was green on my brush, and then of course I added black around the outside just to give it that little shadow. But I did want to add a little bit of green to it to give it that I'm a rusty metal look. And I didn't want to go too dark. So my first attempt was very, very light. So here I'm using my template again to give me that perfect V inside, because at first I started freehanding it and then I second guessed myself, which I'm glad because it was going a little wonky. And so now I just have that perfect little V that I was looking for using my own template instead of trying to eyeball it. So now all I'm doing on this one is I'm doing the V portion and then those cute little divots that make it look like it's a folded piece of paper. Of course, I got a little excited and forgot to do the other the other little divot. And I realized that here after I am inking the piece. I'm like, wait a minute. There's something wrong with this. So I'm going to go back in really quickly with my leftover thread and just add those two little stitches. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I completely forgot about that. And tape that off or tie it off, and now go back to what I was doing. So I did this way, so that way I could actually have a working pocket. And I will share with you guys how I do my working pocket. But first, I just needed to get the inking down on the background, because once I get the front piece stitched to the back piece, I won't be able to ink it all the way. So that is what I am doing right at this very moment. And then I realized I went a little too dark on the envelope, so now I want to go a little dark on the clock, and then I end up going even darker because I just feel like they weren't metally enough, if that's a word. All right, so here I am trying to thread I'm using only 3 strands, and sometimes the strands split evenly and I can just pull out the 3 strands. Other ones I have to split it just like this and keep my thread from twirling around because I'm unwinding 3 strands. I don't know why. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Pulling out, the strands that you need. It's a mystery to me. Yes, it is. Maybe I just don't pick the right 3. Anyways, that is what I'm doing. So here I am putting my V on top of my back piece, and I'm stitching through both holes. They should line up beautifully because you used the same template. Now for me, I'm just trying to get them to line up, and so I'm wiggling my what's it called? My needle back and forth trying to make sure that those holes are lined up, because with just very few stitches, it's still a little loose. The envelope top is still a little loose to the bottom, and so it just takes a hot minute. Once I get all of them going across and I go back to fill in the back stitch, then it goes together beautifully because I'm going back through the exact same holes. I don't have to find those holes again. So that is, it's just super fun. You guys, I was so excited to share this with you guys. Like, I made an envelope. Yay! Now, did I omit the paper and the star? Yes, I did. Could I have put the star on the envelope? Yes, I could have. But I wanted to use hearts on this layout just because of how beautiful this church was. And so, yeah, I definitely wanted to incorporate the hearts more than the star. So I omitted the paper and the star from the template that is on there. It's just like an added bonus that you can put on there. And definitely use it in other places as well. You can embellish a ticket and put a little star on a ticket because you've got that frame to center it into the ticket. It would be awesome. Okay, so now that I've got both of my elements and my paper ready to go, I'm so super excited. I'm going to back my photos, and I'm pretty much done talking about the monthly club and how to use the elements that you guys will get here soon. Everything will ship out the 15th of every month. Unless the 15th falls on a weekend, then you'll get it shipped out before the 15th. It won't go after the 15th. It will go before the 15th. I do have a few trips that I'm going on throughout the year, and so if that comes into play with the 15th, then again your elements will go out before the 15th instead of after the 15th. So just to let you guys know that is when to expect, and you should get an email that your item is shipping. So you guys should get an email. Unless I'm in your spam box, then you won't get an email. Just letting you guys know that. So here I'm just trying to figure out how to cut apart this paper, and at first I was going to cut it lengthwise so that way I can unfold it at the bottom and have a 12-inch piece of paper. And then I realized I didn't want to do that because the elements would have been upside down. So I cut off the bottom and then cut off at the seam so I could have a full sheet of paper. And it just was a little on the smaller side. Now I'm wrinkling it so I can add a little bit of green to it, just because it looked a little too dark for what I was going for, and I think this green will help it out a lot. But in the end, you don't really see a whole lot of it. You don't. And because oxide takes forever to dry, I am going to take a piece of paper towel and go ahead and just rub off all of that ink. It's not rubbing it off. It's just it's helping it dry and helping it get into the paper a little bit faster. But as you can see, I'm picking up ink every time I go over and over and over this piece of paper. And I didn't want inky fingers, and then those inky fingers get on my pictures. All right, so here is, like I said, I'm going to freehand this. I thought at first I was going to paper trim all this off, but I figured freehand was going to look the best, but then I can also get my ragged edges because once I'm done cutting out my paper and getting a border around it, then I'm just going to take my fingers and kind of rough up the edges a little bit. So that way, even if my cuts aren't perfect, it looks like it was meant to be that way because now the edges aren't perfect either. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this church. This church is gorgeous. It definitely, when you get off the boat and you start walking around, you can't miss it. It's green roof is beautiful, which it's a copper roof. After its history, they replaced it with a copper roof, which oxidized and gave it this beautiful green roof. So this church was built in 1848, and it was actually built by the Russians when the Russians, I don't want to say took over Sitka, but they owned Sitka, or it was their realm. And so it was built by the Russians. It has a huge Russian influence on the inside. I wished I would have gotten pictures on the inside, but it was surrounded by people all the time, except for, of course, look at these pictures. You can't really tell that. because that was the point of the pictures, right? I wanted to grab pictures where there were no people. It does have open and closed hours for people to come in, but it has beautiful artworks, beautiful arches, beautiful. I mean, it is just beautiful inside and out. And it definitely has that Russian influence on the inside. But in 1866, I want to say, or I'm sorry, 1966, the church burned, like almost to the ground. They were able to save a bunch of stuff within the church, but the structure they were not able to save. The metal that they used back in the day, back in the 1800s, did not survive the fire. The wood that they used did not survive the fire. And so when they rebuilt it, they opted to use copper, which has a higher fire rating. I don't really know exactly what that's called. Tensile strength, I think, is what it is to heat. And then, of course, they used a pre-treated wood for the outside. They tried to keep to the structure as best as possible because the only blueprints that they had from the original church weren't the 1800s blueprints. They were actually they did an add-on, I want to say, to what is that gentleman's, the rectory, I think is what it's called. Forgive me if I say the word wrong, but they did an add-on so that way the priest could have his own private study, and that was the originals that they found, which I believe was from 1948, and then they rebuilt the church to that. They kept the dome the way that it was, and then they added this pier. Or pyre, I think is what it's called, at the top of the clock tower. And so it is beautiful. It is iconic in Sitka. And one of the beautiful pictures that you see when you look up Sitka, Alaska, or things to do in Sitka, this church comes up. And it is just fabulous, you guys. I was impressed because I had no idea until I stepped foot on a Sitka that there was a Russian influence. Had no clue whatsoever about Alaska's history, basically, because I didn't know that Alaska even had a Russian influence at all. And so it's kind of weird because Alaska is part of our history, ours being in the United States. And for me to not know that was something I either missed in history class because, I might have been sleeping, or we didn't cover it. I don't know. So that is something I don't know, but maybe the rest of us do. But it is just beautiful, you guys. And that green roof is what drew me to it in the first place. And not having, any idea about it. When we went on this cruise, I definitely did not do any research other than what we wanted to do for excursions. But then on certain parts of it, we wanted to keep it open so we could do our own exploring. And that's usually when I do a lot of research of what we could go do instead of just walk around and waste time. This time I didn't do that. I wanted it to be completely open and ready basically for my husband to enjoy his trip, because that was what this was. It was his trip. We always take trips for the kids and we always take trips for me, but this was more like whatever he wanted to do. And he's more of those types of, well, let's wander around and see what we can get into, not trouble, but you know what I mean? See what we find. And those are the types of trips he enjoys, is just no plans, no rush to go get to this other thing, no rush to go do the other thing, and all that other stuff. And so I did not look up anything. And so when I found out that, there was a huge Russian influence in Sitka, it was like, that was super cool. But we didn't really go and explore any of that. We just looked around and walked the docks and walked the town and found a super cool crafty store and was introduced to beam paints. And, it was just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. So, anyways, now is the embellishing part. I am going to try to pull out a few of these numbered tickets and or tags or whatever they're called. I have no idea. But the numbers have no meaning whatsoever. I didn't try to find like the address of the church. I didn't try to do any of that kind of stuff. I just was looking more for color-wise to help the envelope and the clock blend in. So I definitely wanted to get that same color that I was looking for. A lot of the tickets, especially now because I've used up some of them, a lot of the tickets are on the black and white side, and so I could have used those and offset the clock and the envelope, but I really was looking for something to help them blend in, something else to go with them to make it look like there was a purpose as to why they were that color. Now this Shine Bright, I tried to use the Shine Bright on my first layout and it did not work, but it has a little bit of that pink to it. So I'm still trying to wrap my brain around how I can get the Shine Bright to not be pink. I do figure it out in the end, but at this point in time, I try to figure that out. I do want to have a small little piece of paper inside my envelope so that way I can remember, just in case I don't get to it right away, but I can remember that this is a pocket, as small as it is. And at first I was trying to use the exact size of the scrap, but then it ends up being a little bit too big. So I'm going to chop it off a little bit, re-ink that edge, and then be able to put it in. I love that. It is so cute and makes me so happy. I have a cute little envelope, you guys. I can't wait to play with it again. I really can't. There's so much potential, so many other colors. You can do an entire grid of envelopes if you just have something small to say about, little tiny photos, or like a year in review and you use the little envelopes, to pinpoint why did you pick this picture for your year in review picture type of thing. And so super, super fun, you guys. It really is. So I'm going to spell out St. Michael's. There she be. And try to figure out where it's supposed to go before I get too crazy with the embellishments. I thought I wanted it up at the top because I have a lot of blank space up at the top, but I think the best part for me to have it is off to the side right here. So I'm going to have it off to the side and then just build my cluster around it, have my clock interact with it. And then I wanted to keep this embellishment separated enough to where the one up at the top of this page where the Shine Bright is at the moment, but it's not going to stay there. It will actually look as if it's two separate elements. I don't want them to collide and look like one giant page or one giant element across my page. Okay, so I figured out how everything's going to work, but my circles are on the bright side. So I am going to use my brown ink again. I still have not inked this brown ink. These blender brushes hold a ton of ink in them as far as, color-wise. And so I utilize that a lot when I don't want to guess at what colors I want. I just use what's already on the brushes, you guys. And this brown ink inked my clock, my envelope, and now it's inking all of these labels for me, just so that way there's not all this white on my page. I know the background is white, but it also has that green tint to it, so it kind of blends in with everything else. It's not stark white. The writing is stark white, and I feel like it helps bring the buildings out, but my labels were just too white. They clashed with the clusters I was trying to put them in. And so what I'm doing is I'm inking them brown, then I'm distressing the edges, and then I am going to ink them with the black ink, which is more like a charcoal. It's not true black, to just help show off that border a little bit more and show that it is a little on the distress side. Speaking of distress edgers, I do want to give a heads up. The edger that I am currently using is retiring in my shop. So if you guys have been eyeballing this edge distresser, the link is down below in the description box. I have very few left, but once they are sold out, I will introduce an upgrade. Like I'm upgrading this, but I wanted to use up my inventory first. There's nothing wrong with these. These work beautifully, and then it's not like the design is going to change or anything. So if you get this one and not wait for the update, you're not really going to miss a lot. It's just small, teeny, minor updates that I have to do, but this style is retiring, just to let you guys know that. All right, so there is my layout. I am super stoked. I did find a tiny word on my sticker sheet from the Midnight collection that just says beautiful. Oh, no, it doesn't. It says captured because I already have the beautiful in that chipboard down below. But yes, I love how this looks. I love all the stitching and the interaction with the stitching and how I'm able to pop that stitching up off my page and make it a part of my clusters now. I cannot be any more excited to share this monthly subscription with you guys. I really cannot. I am so super excited. So thank you so much. I know that this was a very long-winded video. I just thank you for those of you that have made it this far. Thank you so very much. I cannot appreciate how much I am. I cannot explain how appreciative I am of you guys joining me for these very long videos. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to check out all the links that I have down below. I've got a link for Baby Got Scraps, Stitches and Stencils. Even though this isn't Stitches and Stencil Day, it still fits the category. I also have the link for the monthly subscription down below. It does end on January 10th if you guys are on the fence about it. And then, of course, I also have a link down below for my edge distresser. Get your hands on it because they are going fast. Again, thank you so much for watching. I like I said, I appreciate it every time you guys stop by and check it out and take a little bit of your time to watch me do my thing. I appreciate it. Again, thank you so much, and I'll check you guys all later. Bye.